If we talk really loudly.
Okay. All right, we're going to start. Okay, great. Let me just
Maybe do a sound check, see if we can.
I'm going to pick it up from here.
Oh,
No, mine isn't. No, yours isn't either. No. Mine's not either.
slide over.
I can start, okay.
Oh, now we're gonna get the reverb because
We're going to begin this evening with remembrance of Mrs. Kathleen Scully, principal of John Trumbull Primary School in Judson. Kathleen M Scully passed away peacefully Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022, at home surrounded by her family after living courageously for 19 months with a glioblastoma. She was the wife of James M. Scully for 34 years. Kathy was born in Waterbury on October 26, 1962, daughter of Mary Illy Moriarty and the late John Jack Moriarty. She was a graduate of Holy Cross High School of 1980. She attended St. Joseph's College, where she received both her bachelor's and master's degrees in special education. Determined to continue her studies, Kathy earned her 6-year certification in educational leadership from Sacred Heart University. In 1984, Kathy began her career in Watertown as a special education teacher at Fletcher W. Judson School, and also taught both special education and regular education at Baldwin School. In 2000, she was named assistant principal at John Trumbull Primary School, and in 2005, Kathy became principal. Kathy's career came full circle when she was named principal at Fletcher W. Judson School in 2014 until her retirement in 2020. Kathy will be remembered for her commitment to the Watertown public school system. As an administrator, Kathy was admired for her unique ability to connect with everyone she met. She was a role model and a mentor to her colleagues and loved by many students whose lives she touched. Kathy enjoyed spending time with family and friends, especially at the beach on the Connecticut shore, Maine, and Cape Cod. Kathy was also extremely proud of her children and their accomplishments. In addition to her husband and mother, she is survived by her son Matthew Scully and his fiancée Skylar Cleveland, her daughter Lauren Scully and her partner Michael Gabrielli, brothers John Moriarty and his wife Pamela of Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, Kevin Moriarty and his wife Lynn of Simsbury, mother-in-law Catherine Scully, as well as in-laws William Scully Jr. and his wife Stephanie, Beth Scully and her wife Eileen Barrett of Brooklyn, New York, John Scully and his husband David Osella of West Hartford, Maura Myers and her husband John of Ocean Park, Maine, and Margaret Scully of Oakville, as well as many nieces, nephews, grandnieces, and nephews whom Kathy loved. Along with her father, she was predeceased by her beloved Aunt Virginia Scoville and father-in-law William Scully. The family would like to thank Dr. Nicholas Blondin and the staff at both Yale New Haven Hospital and Smilo Cancer Hospital Care Center in Trumbull, as well as the staff at Hartford Healthcare at home of Watertown for their compassionate care shown to Kathy over the past 19 months. A massive Christian burial will be held Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. at St. John the Evangelist Church, 574 Main Street. Family and friends are asked to meet directly at the church. Burial of ashes will follow Mount Olivet Cemetery. Calling hours are Tuesday, 5 to 7 p.m. at the Hitchcock Funeral Home, 195 Main Street, Watertown. In lieu of flowers, memorial contributions may be made to Kathy's name to the Watertown Foundation. Words can't express the sadness we are all feeling over the loss of Kathy Scully. Kindergarten is an emotional time for many parents and a scary adventure for first-time students. Kathy's caring and kind demeanor allowed every parent to drop their child off with ease, knowing they were in a safe, happy place, while students felt the comfort of her warm and loving arms. Her bright smile lit up the hallways of each school she worked at, making her students feel welcome and her staff feel appreciated. Mrs. Scully was a true legend and left a mark that no one can erase. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Kathy's family and loved ones, and we hope they can find peace and comfort in knowing that the positive impact she made not only on each and every one of her students, but the entire Watertown community. I now ask that we pause for a moment of silence. Thank you. And now ask that we rise for the national, as Mr. Makowski leads us in the national anthem. Pledge of Allegiance. I'm sorry.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Davidson?
Ms. Paloma? Here. Mr. Gonzalez?
Here.
Ms. Marissa?
Here.
Ms. Hosky?
Here.
Mr. McCaskey?
Here.
Ms. Ronaldo?
Here.
Mr. Malabuti?
Here.
Ms. Lawton? Here. Ms. Killian?
Here.
Mr. Davidson?
Here.
The board received minutes from the regular Board of Education meeting dated March 14th and the special education board meeting March 22nd in our packets, and you had time to look them over. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move that the board approve the minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting dated March 14th, 2022, and the special Board of Education meeting dated March 22nd, 2022.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Opposed?
All those in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to G, Mr. Davidson.
John Trumbull, the faculty and staff would like our update to focus on the amazing former principal. Probably. Yep, that's on. The faculty and staff at John Trumbull would like our update to focus on the amazing former principal, Kathleen Scully. Kathy started her administrative career as the assistant principal of John Trumbull before moving into the role of principal. She was loved by all. Her assistant principal, teachers, paraprofessionals, secretaries, CAF workers, custodians, numerous superintendents, central office staff, the Board of Education, families, and most of all, our students. She led by example. She was loving and caring. She believed all children could learn and always worked diligently to ensure that John Trumbull had success for all students. Kathy touched countless lives during her tenure in Watertown, and her legacy will not be forgotten. At Judson, in grade 3, students have been hard at work learning about fractions. They've been busy making fraction ice cream sundaes and pizzas. Sounds delicious. Grade 4 students are wrapping up their work on their nonfiction reading unit. The students are excited to begin working on persuasive writing. They will be able to research and prepare for debates. Students in grade 5 have been hard at work extending the fraction concepts they learned in grade 3 and learning how to multiply and divide fractions. It's magical to see these mathematicians hard at work. Judson, along with the entire Watertown Public Schools, is mourning the loss of a dear friend and colleague, Kathy Scully. Mrs. Scully was such an inspiration to all of us at Judson. We send our heartfelt condolences and prayers to her family. Rest in peace, Mrs. Scully. At Polk, this past Friday was the day that our students have been long waiting for. After working incredibly hard and fundraising over $13,000, surpassing the school-wide goal, we celebrated by turning Officer Gorman into a human ice cream sundae. Officer Gorman was joined by a mystery guest, Mr. Lawyer, Polk's PE teacher, and they surprised students and got it on the messy fun as well. These 2 staff members were super good at sports, while students, teachers, and maybe even the principal doused them with melted ice cream, chocolate syrup, strawberry sauce, whipped cream, sprinkles, and of course, cherries. If you haven't already, be sure to check out the pictures on Twitter. Over the course of the month, we have honored Women in History Month. Each day over morning announcements, we share a brief biography about important and impactful women and the work they have accomplished. In classes, students have continued this work by listening to read-alouds about the lives of some trailblazing women and conducting research projects on a variety of impressive females and discovering details about their lives and accomplishments. This work fits in nicely with our ongoing theme of being the change and how we can all have a big impact on the world around us. Recently, Polk students participated in a cover contest for this year's yearbook. The competition was incredibly difficult, but with many talented and creative submissions for the cover. Ultimately, 4 runners-up were chosen to be displayed on the back cover, and 1 winner emerged. Congratulations to our runners-up, Grady Marcella, Ava Bloom, Harper Bostrom, and Riley Mays, and to our winner, Gia Nadia. Here at Swift, we are very proud to announce that the CIAC Unified Sports Division has selected Swift teacher Rich Paredes to receive the 2022 George Sinnott School Coach of the Year Award. Mr. Paredes has worked extra hard these past 2 years to build this program at Swift and is organizing several opportunities for the team to play. In addition, 2 of our Swift students, 1 athlete and 1 partner, were recognized for the Mike Savage Teammate Award. Mr. Paredes and the 2 students will be recognized at the Unified Sports Awards ceremony in April. We are proud of all of our staff and students who participate on this team. Mrs. Speckety, our Director of Operations, met with our Swift faculty to review the results of our Ready Winter benchmark results. Our students in all grades performed remarkably well in both reading and math due to many factors, including a significant change in our schedule, which now offers a dedicated intervention/enrichment block daily, the implementation of a new core mathematics program for grades 6 through 8, and opportunities for progress monitoring. We will begin administrating standardized tests, Smarter Balanced in Language Arts and Math, and MGSS in grade 8 science for our students beginning the last week in April. We hope to show the fruits of our labor and meet with much success on these as well. More than 300 Swift students participated in a 5-on-5 basketball tournament last week as athletes, volunteers, and fans. We had 11 teams of students showing off their basketball talents, and the gymnasium was rocking. It was great to see this annual event return. On a final note, our current grade students were blessed to have had Mrs. Kathleen Scully as their principal at John Trumbull Primary School and John Judson School. Her legacy will live on through the students whose lives she touched. We were fortunate to have her in our lives. Congratulations to the Watertown High School Unified Sports teams for being named Rookie School of the Year by the Connecticut Association of Schools. Our team had a great first season, participating in many tournaments around the state, and now they will be honored at a banquet at the AquaTurf on April 25th. Thank you to coaches Beth Wolf and Kristen Bates for guiding the team to excellence throughout the year. Congratulations to the cast, crew, and pit band of our school musical, Mamma Mia, for 6 wonderful performances. Audiences thoroughly enjoyed the musical skills and talented acting of our students, and we are thrilled to offer a performing arts opportunity to over 100 of our students. We enjoyed welcoming the Swift 8th grade class to the high school on March 17th to see an abbreviated performance of the show. The spring athletics season has begun, and we look forward to seeing our students out on the fields and on the track this spring. Our Best Buddies Club were honored at the Watertown Rotary Club's March Luncheon. We thank the Rotary Club for inviting our students to be honored each month and for providing a delicious lunch for them. We have begun the course scheduling process for next year so we can determine student schedules for the 2022-23 school year. The scheduling process takes a few months to complete from start to finish in order to maximize students' course selections. We held SAT School Day on March 23rd for all juniors, and this SAT counts as the required grade 11 assessment. Thank you to the 95% of juniors who came in to take the test. This was an excellent attendance rate.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson. And great job to you in the play too as well. We only got to see it. Very nice. Okay, moving on to H, Superintendent's recommendation and report.
All right, thank you. And just a little update for me. Just this evening, we finished up our Strategic Plan 2026 focus groups. We had over 30 participants who signed up and RSVP'd, everything from WPS parents to employees to business owners, just to also Watertown residents. So it was wonderful to have all those stakeholders with us. And thank you to all of our Board of Education members, as well as our administrators who collaboratively led each focus group through a series of questions. We're excited to go through the data. Also, I know we've talked about Mamma Mia over the last few weeks. Got a chance to watch both casts perform on both weekends, and they just did a phenomenal job. So congratulations to all of you. The power of the arts is absolutely wonderful. Thank you again to the Board of Education for your couple of weekends over at Gail's Farm Shop, handing out flyers on the budget and making sure that community members know where we're going and headed next year with our budget. So thank you for that. Also, on Tuesday night, there was a presentation to the Town Council of our FY23 Board of Education recommended budget. And at the conclusion of that meeting, there was a request from the Town Council for updated numbers if we were to add back in some funds to our high risk assumption areas. A memo has been created and submitted to the Town Manager's office as well as to the Director of Finance for them to review what the increase would be. And then a big shout out to our maintenance teams and to our Director of Facilities and Security. They have been working on overdrive to get our fields ready. And I got to tell you, I saw softball fields emerge from fields and fields of grass. So it was a wonderful thing to see. And so spring season is underway. So congratulations to everybody. Hopefully the weather just gets a little warmer for practices. And that's it for me at the moment.
Does anybody have any comments or questions for Dr. Villanueva? I just want to add to that, Mama Mia, too, to Miss Davidson for your hard work. A shout out to you too, but all the parents, because as we've learned, the drama club is strictly funded by the booster club. So that's a lot of work for the students and the parents. So we thank you for that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank Dr. Villanueva for her second budget presentation to the town council. Again, I'm amazed at your ability to to get into the detail, but make it easy to comprehend. I think what was, for the second time, what was communicated was well received, understood, and the town council members present truly understood, what our challenges are as a district, both financially as well as the impact downstream that it has on the efforts of our administrators, of our teachers, of our staff members. And I think that, you just, again, second time in a row, crushed it. And I want to thank Ms. Kashuba for all of her behind the scenes work in literally digging through everything, paper upon paper upon paper, to not only uncover, but to truly understand the what, the where, the why, the how. And again, Mr. Davidson, you guys were awesome. Miss Lawton's son, both of you were stars of the show. So many. I was amazed that we had 100 students participate. I think that's the largest group in all of individual group in all of Watertown Public Schools. So you guys crushed it. Great job. Thank you for bringing the community together and putting that on. Appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Dr. Villanueva, I just want to add a little to the focus groups for tonight too.
Sure.
We were all there tonight, and it was nice being in our own little groups there and meeting different community members, parents, and being able to talk about some great things that are going on in our schools, and also some things that parents have concerns about, or some things that they think that maybe we could do a little bit differently. So it's nice to be able to talk with different people and from different groups. So again, that was another successful night. So thank you for that. Okay, moving on to items of discussion. The first one, the non-resident tuition rates.
You got it. So every year we have our academic year tuition rates outlined for the Board of Education to approve. This year for 2022-2023, you can see in the outlined memo, there is a different rate for the K-8 as there is to the 9-12 students. And then, of course, you have the preschool rate down there as well. There is a little increase each year based on our per pupil expenditure amount. And this is ultimately provided to residents who may be from out of town that would come to school here. Typically, we have a very, very tight residency policy, and so only students of Watertown, only residents of Watertown really attend Watertown schools. However, periodically, we do have students who may be coming to our school district for a special program, and so this would be the tuition rate that they would pay, as well as in addition to any other special education costs that might be incurred for their being here for a special program.
What about past 12, like our academy? Do we have a different rate for that, or is that the same?
So that, and I can throw this over to Ms. Kashuba as well if she has more information, but we would include that in the 912 number. And then again, any additional special education costs that go on top of that might be charged to a district as well. For special costs.
Exactly. If this is just without any special ed costs, anything, they would be in above and beyond in those special ed areas would be an additional cost.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may, Dr. Villanueva, or maybe Ms. Kashuba, I'm not sure who's best served to answer this. So we know that our per pupil expenditure is $19,010 plus or minus. Why is the tuition rate so much lower than what our per pupil expenditure is?
I'll throw that over to Ms.
Well,
Fisher.
the per pupil expenditure of 19,010 includes all the special ed costs.
Okay.
So when we try to configure this figure, it's really what would regular education, a student coming in from out of district who wanted to come here just for straight regular education, what it would be. So you can imagine the high cost of special ed
Yep.
brings this
Right.
number way down. But it's also why if they did need any services above and beyond just the normal regular ed, we would tack that on to the cost of the tuition base that we set.
Got it. If I may, a follow-up. So did I understand that correctly, that if we didn't have all the special education costs that we have, that our per pupil expenditure would be down closer to these numbers?
Pretty much, yes.
That's correct.
Hope everyone's paying attention.
And if you look at the history of it, and I won't belabor the conversation, you see that we have a significant increase.
Right. I just want to make sure that the board understands the differentiation, and the community understands the impact of the costs that we absorb. So thank you.
Moving on to the 2021-22 school year calendar revision, last day of school.
Okay, and so this agenda item actually kind of merges into the following agenda item C as well. So we did a most recent count of all of our snow days, which does make our last day of school Tuesday, June 14th. Based on statute, and this is now me moving into item C, all school districts need to reach 180 days to have their graduation date on that day. So we were ultimately aiming for Friday, June 10th, because that was our 188-day holding. But then we had another snow day, which then now makes our graduation day as a Monday, June 13th. Because there is only one more day after that until the last day of school, which would make it 181. Both the Swift Middle School graduation would be in the early afternoon on Monday, June 13th, and the WHS graduation would be in the evening of Monday, June 13th, so that the June 14th date can be a rain date, because we do intend to have the graduation outdoors, as it was quite beautiful last year to be able to do that. I just wanted to add one thing to that, because I know that there was some disappointment on not having graduation on Friday, June 10th, particularly with so much of the efforts with Project Grad. It's Project Grad or Graduation Project? Yeah,
Project Grad.
Project Grad. One, I would recommend that we as Board of Education and as a district next year set our graduation date right at the start of the year, as opposed to wait for the spring season at this point. They actually updated the graduation statute in 2019, which now allows boards of education to set a firm graduation date as long as it's done before the 180 days begin ultimately, so that no matter how many inclement weather days you have, you can still keep your firm graduation date. Otherwise, we kind of fall to what happened to us now. We have a moving target of a graduation date based on inclement weather days, trying to meet that 180-day threshold. So even though we're only off by one day today, this year, next year we can make a firm date for graduation and make sure we try to catch that Friday.
Two things to that. Why didn't we do that this year? Is there a reason?
I think it's just typically in our district, we've always just waited for the
Done
spring
it.
season to, set our graduation date. And it's not uncommon of districts to do that. Yeah, not uncommon at all.
And maybe do you just want to add a little, because I know you did call the state about trying to, so maybe
Yes.
just
So I
let
attempted.
the public know.
I pleaded for day 179. But at this point, because of statute, it's pretty firm unless we had actually set the date well before the 180 had started, then we don't qualify. So I'll never lead the Board of Education to do something against statute. Right. Yes.
So,
Yes.
through the chair. So does that mean we have to go back and revisit the calendar? Didn't we just approve a calendar? So in an upcoming meeting, we're going to want to reopen that and maybe set a graduation date.
Correct. So
Yeah,
we
for
can do it
next
as
year.
early as now, or we can do it prior to the start of the next academic year.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions about those things? No? Okay. Moving on to item J, updated board policies, second reading. I'm going to turn this over to you, Dr. Villanueva.
Thank you.
And
So I am going to hand out just a memo regarding the one policy that we had questions around, the term family and parent or custodian. Okay, thank you. So we have the same policies that we completed the first read on. I'll leave it open to, any more? Okay.
Do you have enough?
One more.
I'll keep it open to the Board of Education if there are any specific questions to the Series 2000 retention of electronic records. There were some questions around whether text messages were included in that retention. I'm going to skip that student privacy for just one moment. If there are any questions around the bullying and safe school climate, as you know, the new policy updated now requires PD to be put online as well as resources for families, which has been done. And in addition, the Title IX of the Education Amendments, sexual harassment policy, that was around not having live hearings. And then the transportation policy was around keeping some of the health requirements that we would require as a school district, we would also require on transportation if we had anything along that line. The Series 6000 parent-teacher communication was around making sure we were having enough touch points with our parents. So having 2 rounds of conferences, we were already a district who had 2 rounds of conferences. In addition, making sure we posted the state suggested resources for families so that they could go ahead and access that on the website. And again, that was born out of just being remote and not having enough touch points with families for many districts in the state. So if there are any specific questions to any of those policies for the second read, just let me know. But I will just hone in on the first Series 5000 student privacy PPRA. The question on the policy was around the term family, whether or not we should put in a more detailed definition and or replace the word parent with custodian or guardian. So I definitely brought it back to the attorneys one more time, and I thought I would just share with you just their advisement and recommendation at this point. They do state that they would highly recommend that we keep the statutory language that's outlined in the PPRA policy as it reads. There is a benefit to maintaining the word family and parent as it's written throughout the policy because it would stay within the scope of ultimately how it's laid out in the law. And so, you know, and as any attorney's office would do, they're trying their best to guide us so that we don't make something too thin of a definition so that if we had to move out beyond the bounds of it, you know, we wouldn't get caught in that. So I just wanted to provide that to you specifically. And I think that was the main thing for the PPRA policy there.
Does anybody have any questions or comments on that? And it is defined here that parent is a legal guardian or other person. So does anybody have any questions or comments on that? Okay, zipping right through today.
Wonderful.
Don't jinx us.
Huh?
I said don't jinx us.
I know, right? Okay, moving on to item K, public participation. In accordance with policy 9050, public participants must state their names and address for the record and limit statements to 3 minutes. The board encourages speakers not to express any defamatory comments about Watertown Board of Education, personnel, or any other persons associated with the Watertown Public School System. Do I have anybody from the audience who would like to address the board this evening? Anyone? No? No? Okay.
Sure, I would like to.
Seeing none, is there anybody from the virtual audience that would like to address the board this evening? Please state your name and address.
Okay, I think I'm up.
Yep.
Okay, great. My name is George Welch. I'm a human rights attorney with the Connecticut Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities. I live in 6 Checkerberry Lane in Glastonbury, Connecticut. But I am appreciative to have been invited here tonight and kind of had the Watertown mascot issue put back to my attention. As some of you know, and I know there's some new members on the board, I did speak to the Watertown Board of Education last year. And, you know, I was once again brought to my attention that the mascot issue has been brought kind of back onto the table in Watertown. And I wanted to take an opportunity, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to be here last week. I had a family issue. But I want to take an opportunity to speak about it a little tonight because things have changed a lot in the past year. I've been around the state at these meetings. I've been at North Haven and West Hartford and Ram. And I was at Glastonbury, the meeting that everyone probably knows about that went very sideways. And I'll just say I'll just say this. Since we last spoke, our commission has been clear in our legal analysis of the issue. We've made a declaratory statement that we believe that the use of American Indian mascots and imagery is an act of discrimination. It's a racist act of appropriation, and that our stated goal as the CHRO is to enforce the anti-discrimination laws of the state of Connecticut. And with seeing this, the way we interpret it, there is a likelihood that there will be litigation for places that continue to go forward with the use. And, I can appreciate it that there's, that getting rid of a mascot does have a weight to it. It's something important to a lot of people. It represents tradition. It represents family links. It is something real. And I think that's something that a lot of people on my side of this issue don't appreciate. I understand it's a real sacrifice, but we've reached the point where the law and the research and the tribal voices have spoken very, very clearly and emphatically. This practice cannot continue on, and the state of Connecticut's intent at a state government level is not to allow it to continue on. So again, I really do appreciate the opportunity to speak on this issue. And if there's any members who weren't here for the longer presentation that we gave, or the information packet that we provided last year, I'm happy to speak with you, in a different setting. Obviously, this isn't the time or place for it, but please reach out to me at the CHRO, george.welch@ct.gov, and I'm happy to speak with anyone more.
Thank you, Mr. Welch. Is there anybody else from the virtual audience that would like to speak this evening? You could unmute yourself and state your name and address.
Hi, it's Amanda Manforty. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I just want to thank Attorney George Welch, for his comments just now. I think that was really important to hear and to reiterate what's going on around us as this issue has been brought up again. But I also wanted to take time to comment on Alicia Stardancer's testimony from last meeting, and just acknowledge that I do hear what she was saying, and I understand her concerns about erasure in this issue. But the overwhelming amount of Indigenous Native American folks do feel that it is racist, as Attorney Welch has just indicated. And the overwhelming amount of documentation that he provided last year proves this to be the case. So while Indigenous folks are not a monolith and people have their different views, it's times like these where we have to stand on the side of the overwhelming majority and have to agree that it's time to move past this mascot issue. I do, like I said, hear her on her concerns about erasure, though, and I do think that that's something we should take seriously, and we need to address that. So we do have opportunities to honor our Native American roots in this community, from anywhere as dedicating the next board Parks and Rec facility that in their name of the local tribe, to the education that we provide to our kids, even dedicating a day of education to honoring our local tribes in the area. And these are things I think that we have to move on towards discussing, as we know that the mascot issue needs to be put to rest at this time. And I hope that that's something that this board is actually working towards, because I would like to acknowledge that the erasure shouldn't happen as well. I appreciate the time that I was given to speak this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the virtual audience that would like to speak this evening? Please unmute yourself and state your name and address. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to item L, communications. Ms. Hosking.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Board of Education received the following letters via emails dated from 3/14/2022 to today, 3/28/2022. A letter from Alicia Stardancer to replace her original letter dated 3/14/2022 in support of keeping the Indian as Watertown High School logo. A letter from Colleen Murphy and Ellie Miskey dated 3/14/2022 in support of the previous decision to change Watertown High School logo to the Warriors. This letter has two attachments, an original letter to the board that had in excess of 400 plus signatures, and an original letter to the board that was from the Mashantucket Pequot Tribal Nation. A letter from Karen Robillard dated 3/14/2022 in support of the previous decision to change the Watertown High School logo to the Warriors. All letters received are now posted online on the WPS webpage. In addition, there were two letters that were recognized or names of submissions from the last meeting, March 7th, 2022, in favor of keeping the Indian logo from Mr. Ryan Spring, and also a letter from Brendan Matthews dated 3/11 in favor of keeping the Indian as logo. They were not included in the minutes, but they are posted on the website. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hosking. Moving on to M, committee reports, curriculum and instruction. Back to you, Ms. Hosking.
There is no report at this time.
Thank you. Policy and labor, Mr. Malaguti.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had met initially for our reading of the Series 2000 and the Series 5000 and 6000. We then had our first reading a few weeks back. We made some revisions to the policies, and we will have an action item later this evening on the Series 2000 retention of electronic records 2020, student privacy 5130, bullying and safe school climate, Title IX of the Educational Amendments of 1972, prohibition of sex discrimination and sexual harassment 5105, transportation number 5145, and the Series 6000 parent-teacher communication 6040.
Thank you. Budget and finance, Mr. Makowski.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank board members and community members that came to our coffee roundtable at Gales over the last couple of weekends. Some great questions. Looking forward to more community members reaching out to us with questions. And again, as I said before, I wanna thank Dr. Villanueva and her team for very in-depth, detailed budget proposal, as well as a clear presentation of it to the town council and for our committee to our community. We will be working to create events on Facebook for upcoming events, such as the public comment period with the town council, referendum day, things like that. So we're hoping that our parents and community members will help spread the word on the process to spread the education and get a strong turnout for referendum day.
Thank you, Mr. Makowski. Facilities PBC Operations Committee, Mr. Gavalas.
No report this evening, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And Governance and Community Engagement, Ms. Faressa.
No report at this time, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Report from Board Chair. I have no report this evening. Moving on to O, action items, adoption items to be approved by consent. First one, consideration of the approval of proposed tuition rates for the 2022-2023 school year. School year tuition is to be changed. To be charged for each out-of-town pupil attending the public schools of Watertown based on the increase in net current expenditures per pupil, as calculated by the most recent audited PSIS enrollment data and the EFS expenditure data. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that the board approve the proposed tuition rates for the 2022-2023 school year.
Do I have a second?
Yes, Madam Chair, I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to the consideration of the approval of the Board of Education policies, second reading. It is recommended that the board approve of the updated policies on this agenda this evening, effective March 29th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that the board approve the updated policies, Series 2000 Administration, Retention of Electronic Records 2020, Series 5000 Students, Student Privacy number 5130, Bullying and Safe School Climate number 5015, Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972, prohibition of sex sex discrimination and sexual harassment, number 5105, transportation, number 5145, Series 6000, instruction, parent-teacher communication, number 6040.
Thank you, Ms. Plummer. Do I have a second?
Yes, Madam Chair, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to consideration of the approval to revise the 2021-2022 school year calendar. Due to inclement weather, there have been 5 traditional snow days during 2021-2022 school year. Revised 2021-2022 school year calendar is presented tonight to approve the last day of school for students as Tuesday, June 14th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move that the board approve the revised 2021-2022 school calendar as presented for Watertown Public Schools.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to consideration of the approval of high school and middle school graduation dates. With the adjustment of the 2021-2022 school calendar, it is recommended that the board approve Monday, June 13th, 2022 as a date for graduation exercises for Swift Middle School and Watertown High School. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that the board approve Monday, June 13th, 2022 as the date for Swift Middle School and Watertown High School graduation ceremonies.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Watertown Pompborough Ice Hockey Booster Club donated a check to offset the cost of ice time at an estimated value of $5,000, which is very generous. Do we have a motion to accept this generous gift?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move that the board accept this generous donation and a letter of appreciation be sent to the donor.
Do I have a second?
Yes, Madam Chair, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to item P, future agenda items and board member comments. Anybody have any future agenda items or board member comments? Mr. Makowski?
I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. Over the last year, we've had a number of topics come through our district that has created a great deal of debate and even division. It is okay to have differing opinions. The Watertown Board of Education encourages interested parties to utilize our public comment period to share your personal views and fact-based assessments. At the same time, we ask anyone that is interested in voicing their thoughts or opinions to take the time to properly prepare, edit, and read over their comments. In the past, we have had board members that have felt uncomfortable and even threatened by comments presented to the board, both verbally and in writing. We do not want to dissuade anyone from submitting their comments to the board. However, do ask that you take the time to review them and edit them as you see fit to help ensure that your comments are not misconstrued as threatening. While the Watertown Board of Education will not infringe on anyone's First Amendment rights to free speech, we will also take any comments that appear threatening or slanderous seriously. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Makowski. Any other board member comments or future agenda items? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to Q. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Opposed? Abstentions?
In favor.
I'm sorry, all in favor? So
Aye.
It's before you. All in favor, any discussion? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. We are adjourned at, what time is it?
7:47.
7:47. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Jason, I'm sorry.
I knew that's all.
I'll send that to you.
No,
Kristen
I'm
did
so
great with
happy.
that.